Hey gang, what's going on? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks for checking out the video today. And sort of dragging a little bit this morning, guys. Owen had one of his friends over last night, so we had Elijah 6, Elliot 10, and Owen and his friend both 14 in the house. And you can imagine having 4 boys in the house keeping us up late. I don't think anybody got too much sleep last night, so dragging a little bit this morning. And then we had a heck of a thunderstorm with some high winds here last night, and I have got limbs, big limbs, all over the yard today. So I can already see what's in store for me today as far as cleaning up and burning and that type of stuff. Anyway, guys, today's video, I want to talk a little bit about a topic we've touched upon a little bit in the past, and it seems like it comes up more and more, is the fact that do we want more people fishing or not? Is fishing, at some point, do we have too many people fishing as far as for the good of the overall fishing in the country? I sort of want to get into that a little bit because I think that's something that we're going to start seeing a little bit more moving forward in the future. Plus, on top of that, it's like, if you guys follow the fishing industry, doesn't matter if it's from the retail side, excuse me, retail side, or pros talking about it, or companies talking about it, everybody is just focused on growing, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's one of the inherent, it's sort of one of the things in man's, I guess, motivational part of their being that has gotten us to where we are as a species. But I think at some point, growth becomes a negative in any facts or any segment of life. I don't care, if it's business or if it's fishing or if it's whatever. You have to be in balance and you have to be sustainable in whatever, genre you're talking about here. So I just want to have a little bit of a conversation here about, do we need to pull it back a little bit, and is fishing getting too big, and do we have too many people fishing out there? Here's one of the things about it, guys. Like back sort of like in the 60s, 50s and 60s, there was a big push in this country for hydroelectric power, and there were a lot of lakes built. Most of the lakes in the country were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, a little bit in the 70s, but you really haven't seen hardly any lakes, larger lakes, being created since then, for the most part. Therefore, the numbers of the bodies of water that we have available to people to fish, have sort of become stagnated and limited, yet the number of people fishing increase more and more and more every year. I have noticed that it's like night and day, because when I first started fishing back in the 70s, you just didn't see that many people on the water. I mean, there wasn't even that many recreational people. And now the fishing pressure and the boating pressure on lakes have just become through the roof compared to what it was 30 or 40 years ago. So at what point do we love the sport to death? I mean, and at what point do we sort of not, I don't mean discourage people from fishing, but what point do we back off a little bit from this hard charging, balls to the wall, grow the sport at all costs mentality that I think we have? So first of all, I think the obvious is fishing quality. I think once fishing quality starts to begin to become degraded, which it is already, guys. Fishing, I just did the video last week about how technology creates this false illusion that fishing is better now, and it's not. It's worse than it's ever been. It's just that we become better at catching the fish, so that it creates this illusion. But I think one of the first things is, once you start noticing the fishing quality deteriorate, that's a big warning sign. And obviously, when fishing quality deteriorates, there's going to be a natural byproduct where people aren't going to want to fish that much. They're still going to want to be outside, but they're not going to want to fish, as much. So from that standpoint, that is one aspect of it. And then you get into some other areas as far as just the taking away from the overall joy of being on the water, because one of the big attracting factors to fishing is the peace and tranquility of being out on the water. I mean, that's probably one of the first things that people gravitate to fishing and like, is they just have this, it's calming, it's relaxing to be out there. I mean, especially like a lot of the guys that I've taken, like the Wounded Warriors fishing and stuff like that, that's one of the first things they say to me, as far as just the therapeutic aspect of fishing, about being in nature. Obviously, the more people on the water, the more that you lose that therapeutic effect of being out in nature. So there's that aspect of it too. But obviously, you know, we're in a tough situation here because you're dealing with a lot of different ins and outs here. You're dealing with financial concerns as far as companies that make their living on that. You're dealing with, just the overall, way of thinking about discouraging people to do something that other people are doing. Is that selfish, or is that not selfish? Is that selfish, or is that something you're trying to protect the future sustainability? It's sort of a complex issue. So anyway, here is sort of some of my thoughts on the thing here. I don't like the idea of discouraging people that want to fish recreationally from fishing. I don't like that, because I think that fishing has so many benefits to it that it's good for everybody to fish. The more people that fish, I think the better, not for the fishery, but for the people that are fishing out there. But again, I think there are way too many tournaments. I think tournaments have gotten out of hand in this country. I think that we need to reel back and cut back on the tournaments in a big way. If you look back when tournament fishing, in my opinion, was at the top of its heyday, was back in the 80s, and there wasn't much, guys. There was the Bassmaster Tournament Trail, and there was a handful of other sort of regional circuits, but you had a fraction of the tournaments on the water, and it was just more enjoyable all the way around. I think that all of the agencies involved, as far as whether it's the Corps of Engineers, the Conservation Department, the Lake Patrol, Chamber of Commerce, or whatever, I think tournaments need to get cut in half. I think this country needs half as many bass tournaments than it currently has. And I think that the regulations as far as being able to qualify for a tournament, the permits ought to be stricter. They have to prove that they can safely have the catch and release. If they have weigh-in tournaments, they have to prove that they can take care of those fish without creating a situation with delayed mortality, which we have right now. And I think that the agencies involved are way too liberal in issuing tournament permits right now. So from that standpoint, yeah, we need fewer tournaments, but we don't need to discourage people from fishing. Here's another thing that we need to do to help out. We need more water. We need more water to fish. And here's my solution to it. Instead of these developers going in and bulldozing down these freaking stands of trees to build a smoke shop and a convenience store, how about them taking sort of some of the marginal areas out there and making lakes and ponds with them? Have 5 to 20 acre ponds everywhere across the country. I can promise you there is some type of a revenue stream to be created by having some type of a privately owned bodies of water that are open to the public to fishing, almost like a golf course. Think about it. It's like, you have people, pay to golf. Why can't you have these awesome privately owned man-made lakes all over the country, and people come in there to pay to fish? Therefore, you create more water. You have a controlled environment where you can stock the fish. You can create good fishing. You can make it aesthetically pleasing, make it like a park-like setting where people can go into. I mean, there's so much potential for that I don't understand how people have not tapped into that. I used to have a 40-acre lake up north of Joplin. I'd have people come to me all the time wanting to fish that place. I mean, there's a appetite for having places to go fishing. So even though, on a federal level, it's probably, we're not going to see many big reservoirs built out there, the private sector still is missing out on a huge opportunity to create places for people to fish where more people can get on the water. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. I wanted to get that conversation going as far as, are we loving the sport too much? Do we have too many people fishing? Yeah, we do. I don't think, I'm saying that from a factual basis. I'm not saying that from somebody who says, you all need to stay off the water and leave more of it to us. That's not the point. I want to see a lot of people fishing. I want to see kids fishing. I want to see people fishing. But we have to have, the playing field for people to do that. And we have to back off on these tournaments. We have to cut these tournaments in half. And I just think it's going to make it a better world all the way around for everybody. So anyway, any guys out there that are multi-millionaires out there and you have discretionary income, or any guys out there that are constantly looking for stands of trees like this to bulldoze down and put a convenience store in, you know, sort of alter your business model a little bit and start creating some places for people to fish. That'd be a better legacy to leave for yourself. So anyway, let me know, shoot some comments, guys. We'll talk later.